The crystal glasses clinked, violins played softly, and Madison Reed smiled triumphantly as she raised her champagne flute. Moments earlier, she had slapped a black woman across the face in front of a dozen elite diners and had her thrown out of the most exclusive restaurant in Manhattan. "We don't serve fantasies here," she'd sneered. But what Madison didn't know, what no one knew, was that the woman she humiliated didn't just belong there. She owned the place. And in exactly 23 minutes, every person who cheered that slap would find their world flipped upside down, one brutal truth at a time. The ambiance inside Maison Whitmore was exactly what its $800 per plate menu promised. Polished marble floors, hushed conversations, and the clinking of crystal glassware under golden chandeliers. Waiters glided silently between tables, dressed in black waistcoats, silver trays in hand. A string quartet played softly from the far end of the room, filling the air with Vivaldi, and at table 9, a storm was brewing. Olivia Grant stood there, understated in faded jeans, a plain navy blouse, and sneakers that had clearly walked through more than one season. She didn't wear jewelry, carried no designer purse, and bore none of the theatrical elegance so common in this uptown sanctuary. To anyone else, she might have seemed lost, a woman who'd wandered into a place she couldn't possibly afford. To Madison Reed, manager of Maison Whitmore, she was a threat, a blemish on perfection. Madison approached, her heels clicking like a metronome of disdain. She was in her early 40s, blonde, sharp-jawed, and clad in tailored white and black. Her every step echoed authority, not earned, but performed. She smiled, but it was the kind that cut. "Ma'am," she said, her voice sugar-coated with poison, "are you lost?" Olivia looked up from the wine menu she'd been calmly studying. "No," she replied with gentle certainty. "I'm exactly where I need to be." That reply, calm and unbothered, only fueled Madison's irritation. "Table 9 is reserved. I'm afraid we can't serve walk-ins at our premier tables." Olivia closed the menu softly, set it aside. "I called earlier. Your hostess said there were still a few openings." "Openings, maybe," Madison snapped, "but not for just anyone." Around them, diners began to notice. A couple 2 tables over leaned in. A young woman pulled out her phone, discreetly tapping record. Olivia's voice stayed low and composed. "I'd still like to be seated." "No," Madison said, her smile now fully gone. "You won't be seated. Not here. You don't belong in a place like this." Those words hit like a cold slap of water. The room stiffened, but Olivia didn't react. She stood still, her eyes soft but firm. "Security!" Madison snapped over her shoulder. "Escort this woman out. Now!" Ethan Cole, the restaurant's uniformed security guard, appeared almost instantly. Broad-shouldered and silent, he stepped forward with hesitation, glancing at Olivia, then at Madison. "Do you need to see my ID?" Olivia asked Madison calmly. Madison smirked. "No, I need you to leave." As Ethan gently reached toward Olivia's elbow, Olivia raised a hand, not to block him, but to signal pause. "I came here for the sea bass," she said, a tiny smile tugging at the edge of her lips. "But it seems I got the show instead." People chuckled nervously. Someone muttered, "This is unbelievable." Then, in a moment that would live in whispers and replays for weeks, Madison lifted her hand and slapped Olivia across the face. The sound rang out, a clean crack that echoed off the wine racks and through the air like a firecracker. A collective gasp surged through the restaurant. Olivia's head tilted slightly from the force. A stunned silence fell. She slowly brought her hand to her cheek. Not roughly, not in pain, just a touch. Curious, almost delicate. No one moved. Even the quartet stopped playing mid-bar. Olivia took a breath, and then she smiled. It wasn't the smile of someone defeated or ashamed. It wasn't shocked or weak. It was a knowing smile, one that curled at the edges with something far more dangerous than rage. Certainty. Madison took a step back. Ethan froze, Olivia met Madison's eyes for the first time, really looked at her. "You shouldn't have done that," she said quietly. "And you shouldn't be here," Madison hissed. "I'll go," Olivia said. She turned, picked up the small cloth bag she'd placed beside the chair, faded canvas with fraying seams, and walked slowly toward the front door. Not hurried, not hunched. The room parted for her. No one cheered. No one stopped her. Some looked away, ashamed. Others stared. Outside, through the tall glass, they could see her pause by the valet. She didn't pull out a phone. She simply stood there, watching. Inside, Madison exhaled sharply and smoothed her blazer, turning back to the restaurant with the cool detachment of someone who believed she had done something noble. "She won't be back," she said to no one in particular. "Back to your meals, everyone." But no one resumed eating. No forks clinked, no glasses lifted. Because at that moment, no one was quite sure who the real intruder had been. And upstairs, in the private lounge reserved for only the most elite members, a retired senator looked down and whispered to the maitre d', "That woman. You do know who that was, don't you?" The maitre d' blinked. "Some confused walk-in?" The senator shook his head slowly. That was Olivia Grant. "Who?" "The Olivia Grant," he said. "Founder of Grant International. She owns this place." And with that, the first domino had fallen. 6 hours earlier, the morning sun peeked through the skyline of Manhattan, casting long golden lines across the windows of a penthouse office 51 floors above street level. The windows, stretching floor to ceiling, offered a panoramic view of a city in motion, unaware that its quietest power players were already at work. Olivia Grant stood in front of a large mahogany desk, dressed in the same jeans, blouse, and sneakers that would later be scrutinized like social crimes. She held a tablet in her hand, eyes scanning the latest internal email flagged as urgent. Anonymous complaint, Bur 472, Maison Whitmore, discriminatory practices. She didn't sigh, didn't blink, just tapped to open the full message. Manager at Maison Whitmore routinely turns away people who don't look the part. Several employees say she has a list of undesirable appearances and encourages staff to seat them near the kitchen or tell them there are no reservations available. She claims it's to protect the brand image. "We're losing regulars and alienating walk-ins. Please investigate. This is not what we signed up for." Beneath the text were a few blurry photos taken from behind a service counter. One of a woman with blonde hair pointing at someone off-frame, her posture stiff with authority. The angle made it difficult to confirm, but Olivia recognized Madison Reed even from a silhouette. She knew that posture. This wasn't the first complaint. It wasn't even the fifth. Olivia tapped the screen off and turned to the man seated nearby. James Parker, her chief of staff for nearly a decade. Always crisp, always ready, James wore his tailored navy suit like armor. "She's doing it again," Olivia said softly. James nodded. "Same tactics, different day. I want to see it myself." "Understood," he said, already reaching for his phone. "Should I alert internal audit? Security?" Olivia shook her head. "No, no chauffeurs, no bodyguards, not yet, just me." James hesitated. "You're going alone?" "I always do," he frowned. "It's just, this is the 6th time in 2 years you've gone undercover into your own businesses. What if something—" "I don't wear a crown for a reason, James," she interrupted. "This is how I built Grant International. I didn't inherit marble floors and dress codes. I earned every square inch. I need to see it." "As they see it." He nodded reluctantly. "Maison Whitmore opens at noon. Reservation?" "No, I'll walk in." "Dress?" She glanced down at her jeans and sneakers. "This will do just fine." Hours later, as the restaurant's double doors slowly opened to welcome lunch service, Olivia stood across the street, sunglasses on, her shoulders relaxed. A moment passed as she observed. Waiters adjusted cutlery. A hostess arranged a list behind a sleek podium. Everything gleamed. And behind the glass, Madison Reed appeared, adjusting the position of a centerpiece on a VIP table like it were the crown jewels. Olivia entered quietly, the bell above the door barely audible over the ambient piano music. She waited. The hostess, Chloe Myers, young, eager, and blinded by ambition, barely looked up. "Reservation?" "No," Olivia replied evenly. "Just hoping for a table." Chloe's smile thinned. "We're rather full today." Olivia gestured to 3 empty tables near the window. "Those?" "Reserved," Chloe said quickly. "4?" Chloe blinked. "Guests. Coming shortly." Of course. It was the start of the script Olivia had seen in too many places, subtle deflections, polite exclusions, and Chloe, knowingly or not, was playing her part perfectly. "I'll wait," Olivia said. As Chloe reluctantly reached for a secondary clipboard, Madison emerged from the back of the house. Their eyes didn't meet. Not yet. Madison approached with the theatrical stride of someone stepping on stage. "Is there a problem?" she asked, eyeing Olivia from head to toe with studied precision. "She's hoping to be seated," Chloe said, voice hushed. Madison offered a smile that didn't touch her eyes. "Walk in?" "Yes." Madison tilted her head slightly, as if disappointed, then turned to Olivia. "We typically only accept reservations for peak hours." "I see," Olivia said calmly. "Would off-peak be less scrutinized?" Madison narrowed her eyes. "Excuse me?" Olivia said nothing. A tension bloomed in the space between them. The kind you only feel when one person knows something the other doesn't. And Olivia always knew more. Madison broke eye contact first, turning to Chloe. "Seat her by the sidebar. Far end. She won't mind." Chloe hesitated. "That's next to the service station." Madison's lips tightened. "Perfect." As Olivia followed, her gaze swept the room. Couples in suits and silk. A solo diner working on a MacBook. A woman in pearls giving her the once-over. She smiled at none of them. At her table, she pulled out the menu and scanned it with mild interest, though she already knew the ingredients, suppliers, and profit margins for each item. What she didn't know, yet, was how Madison treated her staff behind the scenes. Whether this thin veneer of sophistication concealed a culture of cruelty, but she was about to find out. A waitress approached. Sophie Cruz, late 20s. Tired eyes, careful smile. "Water?" she offered. "Yes, thank you." Sophie hesitated. I really like your sneakers." Olivia looked up, surprised. "They're my son's favorite color," Sophie added, voice almost inaudible. For a moment, Olivia saw something genuine flicker behind those eyes, a crack in the facade. But it closed quickly as Madison called Sophie back with a snap of her fingers. Olivia watched her go, and with it, a part of herself. This was why she came. This was why she watched. Because to truly own something, you had to understand what it became when no one thought you were watching. In her pocket, her phone vibrated, an alert from the anonymous tip line she had personally created. It was another message. "Management is planning to blacklist a customer today. Word is they do it often, label them inappropriate and claim they're disruptive. It's all about appearances. It's getting worse." Olivia turned off the screen. She didn't need more messages. She needed to witness the fall in real time. From the outside, Maison Whitmore radiated class. Its Instagram page gleamed with gold-accented platings and champagne flutes caught mid-toast. Its clientele looked like magazine spreads, CEOs, socialites, gallery owners. But beneath that curated elegance, a different kind of club operated, one not listed on any menu or press release. Inside the kitchen pass, just beyond the immaculate white-tiled corridor, a different rhythm pulsed. Sharp whispers, glances exchanged like coded messages, and a hierarchy that extended far beyond titles. And at the center of it stood Madison Reed, the queen bee of unspoken rules. It was Chloe Myers who started the day's performance with flair. Barely 24 and new to the city, Chloe had built her identity around the idea of proximity to prestige. She didn't just work at Maison Whitmore. She believed she embodied it. Every day, she applied her lipstick like armor and practiced her lines in the mirror. "Good afternoon. Welcome to Maison Whitmore. Do you have a reservation?" That line, to her, was a gatekeeping spell, and she loved casting it. So, when Olivia walked in that morning in sneakers and a navy blouse, Chloe didn't see a woman. She saw a narrative. And narratives were meant to be managed. From her hostess stand, Chloe angled her phone downward and tapped record. She filmed Olivia's entrance, her interaction with the reservation list, and even zoomed in slightly when Madison appeared beside her. Later, she'd caption it, "When you walk into a 5-star restaurant dressed for laundry day, #KnowYourPlace, #MaisonMoments." She didn't post it yet. She was saving that for the perfect humiliation moment. Meanwhile, Derek Miller polished a wine glass at the far end of the dining floor, his eyes flicking toward the commotion at the entrance and then away again, as if trained not to see anything that might stain the restaurant's image. At 35, Derek had worked here for 8 years, climbing from busser to sommelier, not by raw talent, but by selective blindness. He didn't believe he was part of a toxic system. He believed he was upholding excellence. When Olivia was eventually seated near the sidebar, Derek made a deliberate loop to avoid her table while presenting a $1,200 bottle of Grand Cru to a white-haired couple near the window. They hadn't asked for it, but he knew they'd be impressed by the suggestion. That's how he measured success, by knowing who to pour for and who to pretend didn't exist. At the table behind the service station, Sophie Cruz balanced 2 plates on her arm. Her smile didn't falter, but her mind raced. She needed this job, badly. Rent was late. Her son needed new shoes. And Madison had made it clear, loyalty came before compassion. Earlier that week, Sophie had overheard a discussion between Chloe and Madison about undesirable customers. She hadn't said a word. She couldn't afford to. And today, when Madison pulled her aside and whispered, "Keep me posted on anything strange from table 11. She nodded without blinking. So, when Olivia asked for the sea bass and glanced once too often toward the kitchen, Sophie relayed the message to Madison with just enough spin. "She's asking questions. Kinda pushy." Madison smirked. Typical. Back near the bar, Margaret Whitmore adjusted the diamond clasp on her purse. At 67, she wasn't just a regular. She was legacy. A patron, a name on the board, and a longtime friend of the founder's late sister. She believed Maison Whitmore wasn't just a restaurant, but a cultural gatekeeper. The last time someone was seated in sweats near her table, she'd threatened to pull her investments. She had no official role in daily operations, but her influence was ironclad. Once, she'd cornered Madison in the lounge and said, "If you start letting everyone in, this place will be just another brunch spot. Remember, darling, class isn't just about price. It's about people knowing their place." Madison had taken that to heart. Her job security came not from quarterly performance, but from quietly maintaining the illusion of exclusivity. Margaret whispered, Madison executed. And execution had its rewards. 2 years earlier, Madison had faced a potential firing after a confrontation with a guest who, like Olivia today, wore worn denim and didn't have a reservation. Madison had called security, cited disruptive behavior, and had the woman escorted out in front of a full house. The board reviewed the incident. Some hesitated. Others saw it as decisive action. Margaret intervened. "That manager protected our brand." Madison wasn't just retained. She was promoted to senior operations lead within 3 months. What no one knew, what even Madison didn't know, was that the woman she had thrown out back then wasn't a random diner. It was Olivia. The same Olivia. Same sneakers, same eyes. It had been a test, one that Madison failed. Twice now. And Olivia remembered. As she sipped her water quietly, her phone buzzed gently in her pocket. Another anonymous report. Chloe records guests and mocks them online. Staff is afraid to speak up. Culture here is poison. She turned off the screen. She didn't need a digital trail to tell her what was unfolding in real time. She already saw it. A system of whispers and nods, of smiles worn like daggers, of fear dressed as compliance. But what they didn't see, what they never saw, was that Olivia was already inside their walls, watching, memorizing, calculating. Not angry, not yet, just patient. Because a club built on exclusion never notices the moment the door swings open from within. By 1:10 p.m., the restaurant was full. Every chair polished, every napkin folded just so. The light streaming through the grand arched windows made the glassware sparkle. Laughter floated from tables where the elite of Manhattan dined, discussing IPOs, art auctions, and this season's Aspen rentals. And at the far end, by the service station, Olivia Grant waited. Her water glass remained half full, the menu untouched on the table. She hadn't come to eat. She'd come to observe, and then to decide. It was then that she calmly stood and walked toward the maitre d' podium, where Madison stood, micromanaging the placement of lemon slices on a seafood tower. Olivia cleared her throat softly. "Excuse me." Madison turned and blinked as if startled by a shadow. "Yes? I'd like to move tables." Madison tilted her head. "You're seated." "Yes," Olivia said. "Next to a door that swings every 30 seconds and the scent of dishwater. I'd prefer something quieter. That table by the window, perhaps." The one she pointed to was the most sought-after spot in Maison Whitmore. Table 1. Velvet chairs. Perfect lighting. A view of the city framed like art. It had been empty for the last 20 minutes. Madison stared at her as if Olivia had just asked to sit on the moon. Then she gave a tight smile and leaned in conspiratorially. "That table is reserved." "For?" Madison's lips curled. "For people who belong." A hush spread through the nearby tables. A man in a burgundy blazer turned slightly in his seat. A woman with a pearl necklace raised her brows and sipped her wine slower. Olivia's tone didn't change. "I wasn't aware that belonging came with a dress code." Madison chuckled, not kindly. "Not a dress code, a standard, and we're very selective about keeping it." Olivia looked down at her blouse. "I see," Madison continued, louder this time. "Only ghosts get in without reservations." Several customers chuckled. Chloe, standing nearby with a tray of amuse-bouches, let out a too loud giggle. "I'm afraid you'll have to enjoy your meal from your assigned seat," Madison said, straightening. "And if it's too much trouble, there's a lovely bistro 3 blocks down. Very approachable." Olivia stood still. A quiet spread through the room like fog. Diners sensed something happening, something layered beneath the words. The hush of money meeting assumptions, of class rubbing against invisible lines. "I'll sit back down," Olivia said finally, her voice barely above a whisper, but crystal clear. As she turned, a voice spoke from a nearby table. "Do you know who she is?" The question wasn't loud, but in the stillness, it rang like a bell. Everyone looked toward its source, an older gentleman in a gray wool suit with a cane resting by his chair. His face was creased not with time alone, but with the kind of wisdom that had earned both scars and stock options. His name was Charles Monroe, retired senator, board member of 3 Fortune 500s, and a regular fixture at Maison Whitmore since its inception. Madison glanced at him and offered a laugh too practiced to be genuine. "Of course I know who she is, Mr. Monroe." Another walk-in hoping for a taste of royalty. Monroe didn't smile. "She's not hoping. She already owns the castle." Madison's expression flickered. "Pardon?" "I said," Monroe repeated, voice sharper, "that you might want to tread carefully." Madison's confidence returned in a flash. "Senator Monroe, with all due respect, we have standards to maintain. One misunderstanding doesn't call for speculation." He opened his mouth, then closed it. A look passed between him and Olivia, just a flicker of acknowledgement. And then he said nothing more, but the damage had been done. The spell of Madison's charm cracked slightly. Still, she wasn't finished. She turned to face the floor with theatrical concern, raising her voice just enough for several tables to hear. "We do our best to accommodate everyone," she announced. "But we simply can't let just anyone occupy premium seating meant for loyal patrons." The emphasis on "just anyone" landed like a slap across the room. A few guests chuckled again. Chloe smirked and whispered to a server, "She's amazing at this, like really firm but fair." Derek passed by carrying a bottle of vintage Bordeaux. He didn't look at Olivia. Sophie Cruz hovered nearby, biting her lip, unsure whether to jump in or stay silent. Margaret Whitmore, perched at her usual corner table, watched the exchange unfold with interest. She sipped her cocktail and leaned toward her companion. "I do appreciate how Madison handles disruptions," she murmured. "Disruption?" the companion asked. Margaret gestured subtly toward Olivia. "Can't just let the place turn into a train station." Back at the side table, Olivia sat again, folding her napkin with care. A woman 2 tables down snapped a picture. The flash was off, but Olivia noticed. She always noticed. She looked toward Charles Monroe, who gave her the faintest nod of solidarity. But no one else moved. No one else helped. And that, more than the slap to come, more than the smirks and whispers, was what stayed with Olivia. The silence. Not the hatred. The indifference. Outside the restaurant, clouds began to gather. Not in the sky, but in Olivia's mind. She wasn't hurt. She was ready. The door to Maison Whitmore swung shut behind her with a soft click, muting the orchestral music and clinking of cutlery from inside. Olivia Grant stepped out into the chilled Manhattan afternoon, the air crisp and clean, a sharp contrast to the tension she had left behind. She didn't look back. The doorman blinked in confusion as she passed without waiting for a cab or asking for a car. Instead, she walked with quiet purpose down the sidewalk and around the corner, where a black Rolls-Royce Phantom sat idling by a loading zone. No logos, no driver's cap, no fanfare, just a sleek shadow in chrome and onyx. As she approached, the driver's door clicked open, and a young woman in plain clothes stepped out and held the rear passenger door. "Ms. Grant," Olivia nodded, slid into the plush leather interior, and exhaled. Not with exhaustion, but with a calculated calm. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her phone. A quick swipe. One contact. James Parker. The call connected on the first ring. "James," she said evenly. "Code Indigo." There was a beat of silence on the other end. Then, "Understood. I want the executive board convened immediately. I want them on site within the hour." "Yes, ma'am." "And bring security footage from Maison Whitmore. All cameras. Lobby, dining room, side exits. No redactions." "Yes, pulling now." She paused. "Also, any recent complaints logged anonymously over the past 3 months. Cross-check them with employee rosters." There was a brief rustle of paper on his end. Then James spoke again, his tone different, lower, more cautious. "Funny you mention that. CFO Sarah Chen flagged the same location last week. Said there's been a pattern forming. Discrepancies in guest treatment. Revenue drops on specific nights. Suspicious write-offs." Olivia's eyes narrowed slightly. "She didn't tell me directly." "She tried. You were in Dubai." "And?" "I told her to wait. Thought we could review it together during quarterly." There was no anger in Olivia's voice, just the pause of someone filing away consequences for later. "Have her come," she said. "And Rachel Stone from HR, Michael Torres from Legal, David Kim from Security." "Copy that." "Tell them I want full discretion," she added. "We're not making a scene. Yet. But I want everything documented. Every face. Every voice." There was another short pause. Then James said something she hadn't expected. "And Charles Monroe called." Olivia blinked. "The senator?" "Yes. Said he recognized you. Said he's available for a statement if needed." Her lips curled just slightly. "Good." She ended the call. Inside the car, the silence returned. She tapped the armrest twice, and the dark privacy divider slid into place between her and the driver. The world outside melted into a tinted blur. For a long moment, she stared at nothing. Then she opened a secure app on her phone and began reviewing internal profiles. Madison Reed, Chloe Myers, Derek Miller, Sophie Cruz, even Margaret Whitmore. Backgrounds, prior commendations, warnings, anonymous reviews. Patterns began to emerge. Repeated complaints marked inconclusive. Performance reviews that praised firm control over clientele expectations. Staff turnover high under Madison's tenure, but always explained away as personal reasons. It was systemic, not just one woman's prejudice. It was culture, and that made it hers. Her responsibility. Olivia reached over and pulled a slim black folder from the seat beside her. Inside were photos, screenshots from the anonymous complaints, time-stamped transcripts, a printout of Chloe's social media post drafts, recovered by internal analytics before they ever went live, all reviewed in silence. And at the top, pinned with a small silver clip, was the name, Project Mirage. That's what her team had started calling it. The illusion of luxury, the performance of excellence, a place where the food dazzled and the cruelty wore a tuxedo. She stared at the folder for a long beat, then closed it. Her hand hovered over the call button again. She considered phoning Sarah Chen herself, asking how far her investigation had gone. But no, better to let her walk into this with fresh eyes. Let her see what Olivia had seen. Let the shock hit unfiltered. Olivia didn't believe in theatrical justice. She believed in precise correction, surgical, inevitable. Her gaze drifted toward the street beyond the window. People bustled past. Some hurried, others wandered. No one noticed the woman in the Rolls-Royce. No one recognized the woman who had built an empire by refusing to let anyone define her worth by fabric or footwear. Back inside Maison Whitmore, champagne glasses clinked as Madison laughed too loudly at her own joke, spinning the earlier incident into a story of professionalism. "I mean, honestly," she said to Margaret, "can you believe she pointed to table 1 like it was self-service?" Margaret cackled, delighted. "It's like people don't understand this isn't just food, it's heritage." Madison raised her glass. "To standards." "To standards," echoed Chloe. But the standards were about to shift. Outside, the Rolls pulled from the curb, blending back into the city with practiced stealth. Olivia didn't smile. She didn't rehearse a speech. She just waited. Because now, the clock had started ticking, and for the first time, the real countdown wasn't hers. It was theirs. Inside Maison Whitmore, the atmosphere had returned to its curated rhythm, at least on the surface. The quartet resumed their soft, elegant strains. Forks tinked against porcelain. Servers moved with mechanical precision. But under the velvet and candlelight, an insidious energy pulsed. Madison Reed stood near the bar, her arms crossed, a confident smirk painted across her face. Her tailored blazer hugged her shoulders with the ease of someone certain of her place in the world. She tapped a fingernail against the crystal of her champagne flute. "Everyone," she announced, voice rising just enough to command the attention of her nearest staff. "A little toast." Sophie Cruz, standing near the prep station, exchanged a quick glance with Derek, who looked back without expression. Chloe Myers, of course, leaned in eagerly, already holding up her phone at chest level, recording, just in case the moment turned viral. Madison lifted her glass high. "To maintaining excellence, to protecting our standards, and to reminding people that prestige isn't a right, it's earned." There was a light smattering of laughter from a few nearby patrons who caught the tone, but not the context. Chloe raised her glass a heartbeat later, following Madison's lead with puppy-like mimicry. "To standards," Chloe said. "To standards," echoed a few others in earshot. Madison took a sip and set the glass down with a satisfied sigh. "Honestly, you'd think someone would have taught her that a 5-star experience doesn't start with sneakers. Or a canvas bag," Chloe added, laughing. Madison smirked. "She should be thanking us for the lesson." A couple tables over, Charles Monroe watched with narrowed eyes. He stirred his espresso slowly, saying nothing, but noting everything. Chloe, now fully energized, ducked into a side corner and pulled out her phone. Her fingers flew across the screen. She opened TikTok, chose a filter that added sparkles, and overlaid the clip of Madison's toast with the caption, "When you protect the brand like a boss, CEO will thank me. Maison standards. No sneakers allowed." She tapped upload. By the time the video hit the app, it already had momentum. In 15 minutes, it had over 8,000 views. At 30 minutes, 47,000. By the time Olivia Grant's Rolls-Royce arrived at the Grant International Executive Garage downtown, the number ticked past 378,000. Chloe, completely unaware, stood in the break area, scrolling the comments with a satisfied grin. This is why luxury isn't for everyone. Girl is spitting facts. Can someone ID the woman, though? She looked mad familiar. She sipped a vanilla protein shake and tagged Madison in a follow-up comment. "Just doing my part, queen." Meanwhile, in a conference room lit by steel-toned LEDs and backed by a 16-foot LED screen, Olivia sat at the head of a long glass table. Around her, the executive team gathered. James Parker to her left, CFO Sarah Chen beside him, and HR Director Rachel Stone, flanked by legal and security. No one spoke. They didn't have to. On the massive screen, Chloe's video was playing. Not once, on loop, with audio. Madison's voice, "To reminding people that prestige isn't a right, it's earned," filled the room every 19 seconds, accompanied by Chloe's face, smiling smugly in the foreground. Sarah rubbed her temples. "I'd hoped the pattern was exaggerated." Olivia didn't reply. She was watching the comments scroll in real time. James tapped into the analytics. Views just past 920,000, trending under restaurant drama and privilege patrol. Rachel leaned forward. And unfortunately, that clip isn't just rude, it's defamatory. The insinuation that customers are filtered based on appearance alone opens us to liability, especially if the subject is, as I believe, our majority stakeholder and founder. David Kim, head of security, spoke next. "We also have internal footage confirming the slap. Plus, facial recognition confirms that at least 3 employees smirked or laughed during the incident." Olivia held up a hand, signaling silence. The room quieted. She turned to Sarah. "Who else has seen this?" Sarah took a breath. "That's the twist." Olivia's brow lifted slightly. Sarah continued. "It went viral so fast it reached Grant Communications." There was a beat. James's head lifted. "Wait, national?" "Yes, and specifically, the desk of Nadine Hale." Olivia's posture straightened. Nadine Hale, Grant International's global chief of communications, was known for her zero-tolerance policy on reputational risk. A former war correspondent turned executive enforcer, she could dismantle a PR firestorm or torch an entire division by lunchtime. Sarah added, "She called my office directly. Wants a full report by tomorrow morning. If there's silence from us, she'll assume negligence." Olivia exhaled slowly. The damage was no longer internal. The world had been let in. And while Chloe was riding the high of trending online, Madison was downstairs pouring another glass of champagne and basking in what she believed was a moment of victory. She had no idea the champagne toast would become a corporate eulogy. At table 4, Charles Monroe leaned over to his server. "Tell Ms. Reed I won't be needing the wine pairing. I've lost my appetite." The server nodded and disappeared toward the bar. Across the room, Sophie Cruz stood stiffly, her hands trembling slightly as she carried a tray of petit fours to a group of lawyers celebrating a merger. Her phone buzzed silently in her apron pocket, texts from a friend. "Girl, you're in that TikTok. Check the comments. They're going nuts." She didn't check it. She already knew. Every smile she'd faked, every look away, every silent complicity. It was all captured now, immortalized on the internet. And that realization made her chest tighten. Because Sophie had always told herself it wasn't her fault. That silence was survival. But the camera didn't care. It saw everything. Back at the head of the executive table, Olivia finally stood. "Here's what we do," she said, voice quiet but charged. "First," she said to David, "compile every second of security footage and match it against the TikTok timeline. I want to know who laughed, who watched, and who walked away." Second, to Rachel, review every complaint tied to Maison Whitmore over the last 24 months. Resignations, performance drops, any whisper of bias. Third, to James, Nadine gets a full report by sunrise, unfiltered. She'll know we're not hiding. And last, she said to no one in particular, prepare for a house cleaning. The silence that followed was thick. Then James said softly, "What about the TikTok?" Olivia looked at him, eyes sharp. "We let it burn." The first black SUV rolled up to the curb in front of Maison Whitmore at exactly 3:47 p.m. It was sleek, unmarked, and eerily quiet, gliding like a shadow over Fifth Avenue's gleaming pavement. Then came the second, pulling up directly behind the first. The third slid into position like clockwork, sealing the restaurant's front in a black procession that turned heads instantly. Inside the restaurant, diners paused mid-bite. Forks hovered, glasses clinked with hesitation. Chloe Myers, now stationed near the bar, turned to the window with a furrowed brow. "Is that Secret Service?" she whispered to Derek Miller. He shrugged, pouring champagne into a half-filled flute. "Looks official." At table 6, a man in a camel trench coat quickly dropped his napkin, whispered something to his dining partner, and stood. Within seconds, he was moving briskly to the exit, coat flapping. He didn't even ask for the check. At the hostess stand, Sophie Cruz leaned in toward the podium. "Are those cops?" Chloe squinted. "They're too calm for cops." Then Madison Reed appeared. Her smile was as firm as her heels were sharp. "Relax," she said. "This isn't a raid. Probably just private security for some uptown politician." But even she couldn't hide the slight hitch in her breath as 3 men and 2 women emerged from the SUVs, all dressed in dark business wear, each carrying sleek messenger bags or metal briefcases. One woman wore an earpiece. The tallest man, bald with thick-rimmed glasses, surveyed the building like he owned it. And in a way, he did. Behind the tinted glass of the middle SUV, Olivia Grant remained seated for a moment longer, watching, calculating. Then, with the smoothness of a ritual, she opened the door and stepped out. No flashbulbs, no entourage, just a woman in sneakers and steel resolve. The team fanned out ahead of her, entering Maison Whitmore in coordinated silence. The doors opened with a polite chime, and suddenly, the restaurant felt too bright, too exposed. Derek nearly dropped the cork he was twisting open. Chloe took a step back. Madison approached them with a carefully measured smile, both palms open. "Welcome," she said. "Can I help you?" The man with the glasses handed her a silver card. No name, no logo, just the embossed seal of Grant International. "We're here on executive authorization," he said. "Please direct us to your private dining room, now." Is something wrong?" Madison asked, eyes flicking to Chloe, who was now visibly shaking. "Depends," the man replied, "on your definition of wrong." A ripple moved through the restaurant. Guests whispered. Servers froze mid-step. Margaret Whitmore, from her usual table, narrowed her eyes and slowly set down her cocktail. "Well, that's new." Madison's voice was tight. "Of course. Follow me." She led the group toward the back hallway, where a frosted glass door marked "Private" opened into a soundproof conference suite. Olivia stepped in last, her steps measured, her expression unreadable. Behind her, as the door closed with a magnetic seal, the hum of conversation returned, but now hushed, uneasy. "Who are they?" one diner asked. "Tax audit," another guessed. No, someone whispered. "They're too put together for government." At the hostess stand, Chloe clutched her phone like a lifeline. The TikTok she posted had now crossed 2.4 million views. but the once exciting notifications had shifted in tone. This aged poorly. Are you getting fired or sued? Wait, that's Olivia Grant? Sophie read over her shoulder, then took a careful step away. Inside the conference suite, the lead investigator opened a laptop and connected to the room's main screen. Footage rolled in silence, first from the lobby, then dining room angles, zooming in on table 11. On Chloe, on Madison's slap, on guests laughing, on Sophie reporting quietly to Madison, on Derek avoiding eye contact, on Charles Monroe's warning, every frame, every detail. No one spoke. Then the investigator turned. The purpose of this audit is twofold, he said. To verify a pattern of exclusionary behavior and to identify employees complicit, actively or passively, in practices that breach Grant International's equity, ethics, and service mandates. He turned to Madison. Do you understand the terms of your employment agreement, Ms. Reed? Madison's mouth opened, then closed. Behind her, Olivia stood, arms folded, not triumphant, but composed. This can't be real, Madison whispered. I've run this restaurant for 4 years. Olivia tilted her head slightly. Yes, you have. Outside the room, the restaurant's main floor had transformed from elite dining venue to tension chamber. Guests whispered guesses. Phones buzzed with headlines. Viral TikTok sparks corporate firestorm. Olivia Grant responds to Maison scandal. Sophie, standing beside the kitchen doors, whispered to Derek. She's the owner, isn't she? He nodded grimly. She's more than the owner. She's the storm, Chloe muttered. And for the first time that day, she wasn't smiling. As the sun dipped below the skyline, the shadows of the SUVs stretched long against the sidewalk, silent, unmoving. Inside, Olivia remained a statue of calm as the room around her began to shift, unravel, and reveal. And just like that, the reckoning had begun. The conference room's temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees the moment Olivia Grant stepped forward. Rachel Stone from HR moved in beside her, a sleek tablet in hand. Michael Torres from Legal followed, expression unreadable behind his square glasses. David Kim, head of security, brought up the rear, a silent sentinel. Madison Reed stood frozen, mid-sentence, as if the presence of these executives had turned her tongue to stone. A part of her brain still clung to protocol, to control. She smiled, tight and forced. I'm so glad you're here, she said, turning to Rachel. We just had a situation with a very aggressive customer. Walk in, no reservation, borderline disruptive. It's been resolved now, but of course we welcome any guidance on how to document it properly. Rachel didn't respond right away. She glanced at Olivia, then turned back to Madison with measured calm. I see, Rachel said. And this customer, what exactly did she do? Madison nodded confidently, her hands clasped. Well, she demanded to be seated at table 1. She insulted our staff, disrespected the brand, refused to follow policy. It was really quite jarring. Michael Torres tilted his head. You physically struck her, correct? Madison's composure faltered slightly. It was defensive. She raised her voice. No, she didn't, Olivia said softly, stepping forward. The room went still. Madison blinked. I'm sorry? Rachel glanced at her tablet, tapped once, and turned the screen toward Madison. A freeze frame of Madison's hand mid-air, palm wide, just before it connected with Olivia's cheek. You struck her, Rachel said flatly, without provocation. Madison's mouth moved, but no words came. Michael's voice followed, calm and crisp. Ms. Reed, do you recognize this woman? Madison glanced from the screen to Olivia, her brow furrowed. She's... Rachel turned to Madison fully now, stepping aside so that Olivia was square in view. Because if you're unsure, allow me to formally introduce you. She gestured to the woman in sneakers and a navy blouse. This is Olivia Grant, founder and sole majority owner of Grant International, which includes, of course, Maison Whitmore. The color drained from Madison's face. There was no gasp in the room, no dramatic collapse, just a silence so complete it rang in the ears. Madison took a step back. I didn't know. Olivia stepped forward now, calm and deliberate. No, you didn't care. Behind the mirrored windows of the conference room, the staff floor stirred nervously. Word had spread like fire. From Chloe's phone to Sophie's hushed whisper to Derek's tightening jaw. Everyone knew. Inside, Olivia took her seat at the end of the table. David Kim placed a laptop on the table and began playing the full surveillance sequence. Footage rolled. Madison slapping Olivia, Chloe recording, Derek ignoring, Sophie leaning in and whispering lies. Madison watched, hollow-eyed. I was trying to uphold standards. Rachel didn't blink. Whose standards? Yours? Or the ones written in your contract? No one told me she'd be coming in disguise, Madison sputtered. I was doing my job. Michael Torres flipped open a thin folder. Your job includes upholding anti-discrimination policies, welcoming all patrons regardless of appearance, and preventing hostile workplace culture. You failed on all counts. But I've run this restaurant for 4 years, Madison snapped. And you won't run it for a 5th, Olivia said calmly. Madison opened her mouth again, but the words never formed. Back in the main hall, Chloe's fingers trembled over her phone screen. She watched the video climb past 3.1 million views, but the joy had vanished. She could see the conference room through the frosted glass. Olivia was inside. She's the boss, Chloe whispered. No, Derek said quietly behind her. She's the empire. Sophie stood near the back hallway, her hands clenched. They're going to fire us. Derek didn't answer. Inside, Rachel was finishing her statement. Effective immediately, Ms. Reed. You are relieved of your duties. Your credentials have been revoked. Legal proceedings will be determined pending further internal review. Madison collapsed into the nearest chair, stunned. Rachel turned to Olivia. Would you like to address the team? Olivia nodded once. They exited the conference room together. As the frosted doors opened, the entire restaurant turned. Conversation stopped. Forks dropped. Olivia stepped into the dining floor, not with fanfare, but with silent command. Her eyes scanned the room. Chloe paled. Sophie looked down. Derek straightened but didn't speak. Margaret Whitmore rose from her table, approaching Olivia with her usual hauteur. Ms. Grant, this must be a misunderstanding. I can assure you Madison's intentions were... Olivia raised a hand. Margaret stopped mid-step. I appreciate your long-standing patronage, but effective today, you are no longer a voting stakeholder in Maison Whitmore. Margaret's face flushed. You can't. I just did. She turned to the staff now. Maison Whitmore was never meant to be a shrine to status, Olivia said, voice calm but unwavering. It was meant to be a celebration of experience, culture, taste. That vision died somewhere in this building, but I am here to revive it. No applause, just stillness and wait. She turned back to Rachel. Get HR forms for Sophie Cruz and Chloe Myers. Terminated. Derek Miller, on probation. Final review pending. Sophie burst into tears. I didn't mean to. I had to keep my job. You lied, Olivia said. You weaponized silence. Derek looked away. Chloe tried to speak, but no words came. And from the far side of the restaurant, Charles Monroe stood slowly and walked toward Olivia. He removed his hat, placed it over his chest, and extended a hand. Thank you, he said. They forgot whose name was above the door. Olivia nodded once. Not anymore. Madison Reed's voice cracked as she stepped forward, desperation clinging to her every syllable. Ms. Grant, please. I was protecting your brand. That's what you hired me for. Olivia didn't blink. She stood calmly in the center of Maison Whitmore's once pristine dining room, now transformed into a theater of reckoning. The servers were silent. Diners frozen. Chloe Myers had stopped pretending not to cry. Sophie Cruz wrung her hands so tightly they'd turned white. Derek Miller leaned against the back counter, face ashen, eyes pointed anywhere but Olivia's. "I warned them," Madison said again, this time louder. "I told them we had to be selective. That people come here for exclusivity. It wasn't about her." "She," Olivia interrupted softly, "is me." Madison took a trembling breath. "You came in disguise. You wanted to be tested." "I wanted to observe," Olivia said, "and I did, more than once. But this time, I didn't come to take notes. I came to take names." The silence following that declaration was thunderous. Chloe, unable to take it anymore, broke down. "I didn't mean it," she sobbed. "It was just a TikTok. It wasn't personal. I thought you'd laugh." "You mocked a customer," Rachel Stone said, stepping forward, "who also happens to be your employer. And in doing so, you mocked everything this brand was meant to represent." "I was scared," Sophie Cruz said suddenly. "I didn't know what to do. Madison told me if I didn't report anything unusual, I'd be seen as soft. I have a kid." "You had a choice," Olivia said. "And you chose silence. Until now." Derek spoke at last, voice hoarse. "I've worked here 8 years. I knew. I just kept my head down." "That's how rot grows," Michael Torres added. "One closed eye at a time." Then, from behind the bar, a voice rang out that caught even Olivia by surprise. "I told you all," said Charles Monroe, stepping into full view, his cane tapping once against the marble floor. "I told you to be careful. None of you listened." Madison turned to him in confusion. "Senator, please, don't turn on me." "I'm not turning," he said. "I was never with you." He turned to Olivia. "You knew?" She nodded. "From the beginning." Charles faced the room. "I've been an investor in Grant International for 15 years. I've visited every property. I've seen service at its best and at its worst. I flagged Maison Whitmore to corporate 3 months ago. The complaints, the exclusions, the whispered warnings. When nothing changed, I reached out again, this time directly to her." Madison staggered backward like she'd been slapped. "You set me up," she whispered. "No," Charles said. "You set yourself up. I simply gave the truth a louder microphone." Olivia stepped forward, her tone unchanged. "Effective immediately, Madison Reed, your employment is terminated. Your severance is void under breach of Ethics Clause 7B. Your access credentials are revoked. Security will escort you out." Chloe wailed as Rachel turned to her next. "Chloe Myers, you are dismissed from Grant International Properties. Effective now. Your actions violate media conduct policy and brand defamation clauses." "But it was a joke. No one's laughing." Rachel looked to Sophie. "Ms. Cruz, your contract is also terminated. While we understand pressure, you spread false reports and enabled harm. You will be given 24 hours to collect personal items." Sophie dropped into a chair and covered her face. Derek looked up. "Am I next?" Rachel held his gaze. "You're on probation, pending retraining and a full review. Any misstep, and your file goes to termination." He nodded once, slowly. Then Olivia turned toward the corner where Margaret Whitmore had watched, arms crossed in indignation. "This is outrageous," Margaret said. "You can't erase legacy like this." "You're right," Olivia replied. "Legacy doesn't erase, but it does evolve." She handed a slim envelope to Rachel, who passed it to Margaret. "What's this?" "Your official removal as a voting shareholder," Rachel said. "Your shares have been absorbed by the parent company under Clause 4.2.3. Non-compliance with conduct expectations constitutes forfeiture." "You're destroying my family's name." "No," Olivia said. "I'm saving mine." The restaurant stood in stunned silence. The entire floor a mosaic of disbelief and something else, something deeper. Relief. Catharsis. A strange and growing sense that justice, often slow, had finally found its pace. Olivia turned to the remaining staff. "This ends here. Today. If any of you still believe in what this place can be, you're welcome to stay, under new expectations. If not, you're free to go." But silence will never protect you again. She paused. Let it settle. Charles approached her, extending a hand. You just changed everything. No, Olivia said. I just reminded them who we are. As Madison was quietly escorted out the back, her heels clicking with less confidence than they arrived, Chloe followed in tears. Sophie shuffled behind, head down. Margaret stormed out the front, envelope crumpled in her fist. And in their wake, a space opened up. A space not for power, but for purpose. The podium was simple. No velvet ropes, no dramatic backdrops. Just Olivia Grant standing before a semicircle of reporters in the glass atrium of Grant International's headquarters. Behind her, a single screen displayed a still from the video that changed everything. Chloe Myers smiling into her phone. The words, "Protecting the brand," superimposed in glittering font. The room buzzed with anticipation. The clip had passed 5.6 million views overnight. It had been dissected on cable news, late-night talk shows, and across millions of comment sections. But until now, Olivia had remained silent. No more. She stepped forward, her voice clear and firm. Yesterday, she began, a video circulated that revealed the failure of leadership, integrity, and dignity at one of our flagship properties. Click, click, cameras flashed. Maison Whitmore was never meant to be a place of exclusion. It was meant to be a place of celebration, for culture, cuisine, and character. Somewhere along the way, that purpose was lost. She paused, letting it settle. And so, today, we are not just addressing that failure. We are correcting it. She gestured toward the screen. It shifted from Chloe's video to a sleek new graphic. Integrity Hotline. Report anonymously. Stand for dignity. Effective immediately, Olivia continued. Every Grant International property will be outfitted with an anonymous hotline, staffed 24/7 by third-party auditors. Any employee, guest, or partner may report incidents of discrimination, harassment, or unethical conduct without fear of retaliation. The audience murmured. Approval. Curiosity, surprise. We will not wait for stories to go viral before we act, she said. We will build a system that sees people before they are humiliated. A reporter raised her hand. Ms. Grant, how do you respond to criticism that this is just damage control? Olivia met her eyes. You can't control damage that's already done. You can only decide who you'll be next. Another voice called out. Is this the first step in wider reform? It's one of many, Olivia replied. This isn't just about fixing a restaurant. It's about fixing the narrative of what power should look like. From the back of the room, a new voice rang out. Excuse me. Heads turned. A man stepped forward. Mid-40s, pressed shirt, no tie. His name badge was worn, but legible. Anthony Lynn, former lead server, Maison Whitmore. Security moved slightly, unsure, but Olivia raised a hand to let him speak. I was fired by Madison Reed last year, Anthony said, for attitude issues. What that really meant was, I spoke up when I saw her turning people away for the way they looked. I filed complaints. Nothing happened. His voice cracked slightly, but he continued. I thought no one cared. But today, I see I was wrong. Olivia stepped down from the podium. The room watched, breath held, as she approached him. I remember your report, she said. I read it. It got buried in a stack of quarterly metrics. That's on me. Anthony nodded, surprised. She extended her hand. Would you come back? His eyes widened. Come back? I want you on the pilot team for our ethics task force. You saw it before anyone else. That matters. He took her hand slowly, and for a moment, the cameras were forgotten. In that handshake, something shifted. Later that afternoon, clips of the press conference flooded social media, this time from verified news outlets, not influencers. Olivia Grant doesn't just apologize, she acts. Anonymous hotline launched at all Grant properties. Fired employee offered new position after truth surfaces. And under those headlines, thousands of comments flowed, restoring my faith in leadership. She didn't dodge, she owned it. This is how you do justice. Back inside her office, Olivia watched the footage replay on mute. Outside the glass, the city buzzed on. Inside, James Parker entered with a folder. "Press response is overwhelmingly positive," he said. "Your approval rating with internal staff jumped 9 points overnight." Olivia nodded, but her eyes were distant. "There's still more to do," she said. James offered a faint smile. "Of course, there always is." He placed another file on the desk. "Final prep for the charter ceremony tomorrow, and heads up. Madison applied to work at Arcadia Dining Group." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Bold." "They issued a public statement this morning," he added. "Want to see?" He handed over the printout. Olivia read it, a rare smile curling her lips. Arcadia Dining Group values character as much as experience. In light of recent revelations, we are not pursuing any affiliation with Madison Reed. We stand for inclusion, not exclusion. Olivia leaned back in her chair, tapping the folder softly. "Let's make that the new standard," she said. James nodded. "See you at the ceremony." As he exited, Olivia glanced again at the screen. Anthony Lynn's image flashed next to hers. The truth had found its way forward, not because someone shouted loudest, but because someone finally listened. The conference hall shimmered with natural light filtering through a canopy of glass panels. Rows of executives, franchise owners, and press filled the seats, their attention riveted to the central stage. A tall stand bore the new symbol of Grant International, a stylized olive branch wrapped around a golden fork. At the heart of the stage stood Olivia Grant. She was dressed not in luxury designer pieces, but in a deep navy pantsuit, sharp, commanding, purposeful. Behind her, a massive banner read, "Dignity in Service, Dignity in Leadership." The chatter faded. The cameras stopped clicking. The room held its breath. "Today," Olivia began, "we're not launching a policy. We're launching a promise." She turned toward the ceremonial desk where a thick document lay, embossed in gold. "The Charter of Human-Centered Service will be adopted across all Grant International properties, effective immediately. It outlines non-negotiable principles: dignity, equity, and accountability in every customer and employee interaction." She picked up the fountain pen and signed her name. Applause erupted, not out of formality, but out of deep resonance. This wasn't about branding anymore. This was about legacy. After the applause quieted, Olivia continued. "We will also introduce mandatory service training across all divisions, from kitchen to corporate, from the new hire to the CEO." Some heads in the audience lifted, surprised. "Yes," she said, catching their expressions. "That includes me." The training program, dubbed Serve with Honor, would combine situational ethics, bias awareness, and emotional resilience, all taught through immersive workshops. Not a checkbox, a transformation. In the hallway outside the conference, reporters buzzed. Cameras panned across the charter's cover. Live blogs exploded with quotes and commentary. A new gold standard in hospitality leadership. Grant Intel becomes the first global brand to enforce dignity-first service. Not just policy, a movement. But as the momentous day unfolded, another story began brewing quietly online. A leaked memo from a competitor, Arcadia Dining Group, a rival luxury restaurant chain, had extended an unofficial offer to Madison Reed just days after her dismissal. The backlash was swift. Social media erupted in disbelief. "You're going to hire her after everything she did? So, is Arcadia just trying to fast-track their own PR disaster? Olivia cleaned house, and Arcadia's dumpster diving?" Within hours, Arcadia issued a formal public statement. "After review of recent events and in line with our values, Arcadia Dining Group will not be moving forward with any offers to Ms. Madison Reed. We stand firmly with dignified, inclusive leadership. It was a moment of poetic justice, and the internet knew it. Clips from Olivia's charter signing were now being juxtaposed with Arcadia's retraction. TikToks labeled it "The Rise and Fall of Madison Reed," or "When Karma Works a Double Shift." But Olivia never commented on it. Instead, she stayed focused on her team. The next day, she visited one of the pilot locations for the new training program. The staff stood nervously at first, expecting a lecture. Instead, Olivia sat with them, listened to their stories, their doubts, their pride. One young barista shared, "I was afraid to speak up before. I thought I'd get fired." Olivia responded gently, "If leadership makes you afraid of doing the right thing, it's failed." She walked through the kitchen, greeted the dishwasher by name, and paused by the server's station to ask how tips were distributed. She wasn't there for a photo op. She was there to restore the roots. The story rippled. Guests began sharing experiences of improved service. Employees reported renewed morale. Even former critics of the brand posted praise online. "I used to avoid Grant restaurants. Now I'm recommending them. It's not just the food anymore. It's the feeling." Back at HQ, James Parker knocked once and entered Olivia's office. "Your personal approval rating just hit an all-time high," he said. "Investor confidence is up, and staff retention projections are the best we've seen in years." Olivia nodded. "And Madison?" James smirked. "Last I heard, she tried pitching a hospitality podcast. No one bit." A pause. Then, "Your next public engagement?" Olivia smiled. "No more speeches. Just one more visit." James tilted his head. "To where?" She simply replied, "Maison Whitmore." He understood. Later that evening, alone in her office, Olivia took out a small, square brass plaque. She had designed it herself. Engraved in simple serif font were the words, "Respect is the only dress code that matters." She traced her fingers across the letters. Not every story ends in noise. Some end in silence. But the kind that speaks volumes. Maison Whitmore looked different now, not in design or decor, but in presence. The air, once thick with pretense and whispered judgments, now moved lighter through the marble halls. Conversations held laughter instead of posturing. Servers moved with purpose, not performance. And then, one late afternoon, as the golden hour filtered through the tall windows, a black car pulled up quietly at the curb. Not an SUV, not a company vehicle, just a sleek, understated sedan. From it stepped Olivia Grant. This time she wore a tailored white coat, draped effortlessly over a silk charcoal dress. Pearls adorned her neck, not opulent, but classic. Every step was deliberate, heels tapping softly against the pavement. Heads turned. A valet recognized her first, straightening instantly. "Good evening, Ms. Grant." She nodded politely. "No need for the announcement." The double doors opened before she could reach for them. A young hostess, eyes wide but calm, offered a gentle smile. "Welcome to Maison Whitmore." Inside, the atmosphere shifted. Diners paused, not out of fear or awkwardness, but out of recognition. Not of a CEO, but of someone who had reminded them all what this place was supposed to mean. One by one, people began nodding subtly. A couple at table 3 stood, only to be waved gently back into their seats by Olivia. An elderly man in the corner lifted his wine in a silent toast. And at the bar, a woman whispered, "She's really here." The staff didn't fumble. They moved with practiced precision, no longer stiff with fear, but proud of the change they embodied. The maitre d' approached, bowing slightly. "Would you prefer your usual table?" Olivia smiled softly. "No, table 9. A beat of silence followed. It was an unexpected choice. The table near the far left corner. The one that had become almost mythic, the site of the incident. The place where everything started. Without a word, the maitre d' nodded and led her. The room stayed hushed, not frozen, just reverent. The kind of silence reserved for the end of a symphony. Table 9 had been reset. The linens were crisp, the centerpiece understated. Nothing screamed VIP, and yet it was more dignified than ever. As she took her seat, a server approached. Not flustered, not overeager, just human. "Would you like a menu, or shall I bring the chef's special?" he asked with a calm smile. "The special," Olivia said. He bowed slightly and left. She sat quietly for a moment, her gaze scanning the room. No one whispered behind their hands. No eyes narrowed in scrutiny. It was, for the first time in a long time, simply a restaurant again. A space where everyone was allowed to belong. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small, velvet pouch. From it, she withdrew a square brass plaque, cool, polished, and gleaming under the candlelight. She placed it on the table in front of her. No fanfare, no announcement. She stood, leaving her untouched water and folded napkin. She walked to the hostess, who blinked, surprised. "Ms. Grant, is everything all right?" Olivia nodded. "I just came for one last thing." She walked past the maitre d', who noticed the plaque and stepped toward the table. He picked it up gently, reading the inscription. "Respect is the only dress code that matters." He looked up, eyes shining. "Would you like us to mount this permanently?" Olivia didn't answer. She just smiled and walked out. No speeches, no cameras, no farewell fanfare, just her quiet exit. Outside, the wind picked up gently. The city kept moving. Back inside Maison Whitmore, the plaque remained. Diners who passed it paused. Staff who reset the table paused longer. Some whispered, some smiled, some stared in stillness. And in that corner of the restaurant where so much had once gone wrong, something had been made right. Not by punishment, not by policy, but by presence, by choice, by change. A mother dining with her teenage daughter leaned in and said, "You see that? That's who made this place better." Her daughter asked, "The owner?" The mother shook her head. "The woman." For a long time afterward, Table 9 remained special, not because of what happened there, but because of what was left behind. A reminder, a monument, a promise.